Good evening. Thank you for joining us for West Irondequoit Central PTSA's Candidates Night. The Board of Education in West Irondequoit is composed of 7 community residents who are elected by voters for a 3-year term. Board of Education is the official policy-making body for the school district. The board's responsibilities include establishing an educational philosophy for the district, adopting policies for the operation of the school system, setting goals and objectives that foster educational progress, and developing sound financial plans that balance educational needs and community resources. 2 seats are up for election on June 9th, and we have 4 candidates running. The PTSA holds an annual candidates night so that voters have an opportunity to learn candidates' backgrounds, views, and qualifications. Thank you very much to our 4 candidates for being willing to volunteer and serve our district, our community, and most importantly, our children. Candidates received information on the format and questions that they could prepare for. We also solicited questions from the community and will try to get to as many as possible within our time constraints. The district website has all the candidates' biographical and contact information if anyone would like to get in touch with them directly regarding a question. It is now my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Sherry Johnson, who is the Executive Director of the Monroe County School Boards Association.
Good evening, everyone, and I'd also like to welcome you to the Zoom version of the West Irondequoit Meet the Candidate Night. I also want to thank the West Irondequoit School District and the West Irondequoit PTSA, especially Maureen Herron, for their work to set this up. I would also like to ask for your patience as we work through this new mode of doing this, should we have any glitches with the logistics or with the technology. And before we introduce the candidates and ask them to give their opening remarks, I would like to speak to the work of elected board trustees. As it's stated in the title, Board of Education members hold the public trust. While they are locally elected officials, those in our suburban school districts are nonpartisan and unpaid. And in order to do their job well, they will need to devote hundreds of hours during their term to learn about their roles and perform their duties. On top of the 12 legislated hours of professional development Board of Education members are required to complete within their first term, members must also become familiar with education law, school finance law, state education department regulations, and the ever-changing impact that federal and state legislation mandates to school districts. And they must make also sure that they are available to their community by serving on district committees, attending and participating in district functions and events. With that said, let's learn more about those who would like to serve the West Irondequoit community in that role. I would first like to introduce those that are here tonight to answer questions. We have Ms. Ann Cunningham, Mr. Larry Mcdonald, Mr. John Vay, and Mr. Michael Valenti, who is not here with us this evening. Under the executive order issued by the governor, instead of a random selection of those who turned in petitions for the ballot, names were placed in alphabetical order. So that is the order I will use for opening remarks and then questions. Each candidate will get 3 minutes to make opening remarks. And if you'll please watch the screen for the card, just as it was indicated to you, when you have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and when your time is up. After opening remarks, I'll begin with questioning, and I will also go back to the top of the ballot, but I will rotate at questions after that, so everyone gets an opportunity to answer a question first. Each candidate will answer every question. And finally, we will allow each candidate to have 2-minute closing statements. So with that, we will get to the opening statements. And Ms. Ann Cunningham, if you would please begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening. I'm Ann Cunningham, and I'm very excited to be here on Zoom tonight as a candidate for a 4th term on the West Irondequoit Board of Education. Thank you for taking the time to be here to share in this important process. Special thanks to the West Irondequoit PTSA, Sherry Johnson, and Jeffrey DeVeronica for making this event possible. I am the daughter and daughter-in-law of public school teachers, a 50-year resident of Irondequoit, and a 1981 graduate of Irondequoit High School. Because of the excellent reputation of this district, Tom and I chose to raise our girls here. They are 3rd generation West Irondequoit students, Lily is 15 and is a 10th grader at Irondequoit High School. Abby is 20, is a 2017 graduate of Irondequoit High School and just finished her junior year at the College of Worcester. I am the director of Oasis Rochester, an agency dedicated to providing lifelong learning opportunities for adults over the age of 50. I manage office volunteers and instructors, develop programs and courses, and oversee the budget, marketing, and grant writing for an organization that provides approximately 450 courses for over 1,900 people annually. I've always been active in my daughter's schools and activities. I have been a room parent, a bus and lunch monitor, a school building representative, and the vice president of school affairs for the West Irondequoit Central PTSA. For a full 18 months, I regularly attended our Board of Education's meeting before I made the decision to run for the first of my 3 terms on the Board of Ed. Over the past 9 years as a Board of Ed member, I've been the liaison to the District Health and Safety Committee, the West Irondequoit PTSA, the West Irondequoit Foundation, the Halmer Nature Center, Colebrook, Seneca, Rogers, Iroquois, and Dake schools, the Information Exchange and Legislative Committees of the Monroe County School Boards Association, and served as Vice President of the Board of Education for 3 of those 9 years. I have helped approve 2 major capital improvement projects, numerous smaller improvement projects, the implementation of all-day kindergarten, and the selection of our new superintendent. I have listened to the joys and concerns of our students. I have been engaged in the process of educating our students and have played a vital role in building solutions that benefit our students and community. I watched our staff and students as they reacted quickly to the onset of COVID-19 and the shutdown of in-person learning. As we begin to think about returning our students and staff back into the classroom this fall, we need to make sure we plan and prepare adequately to maintain their health and safety while also planning for any possible shutdowns in the future. I believe in public education where we serve the educational, emotional, and social needs of all our students and celebrate their varied abilities and backgrounds. I simply want to continue giving back to this district. It takes experienced Board of Education members to be ready on day one to help support our community, staff, and students. I have the experience that matters. Thanks.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Larry Mcdonald, you have your 3-minute opening statement.
Well, I'm Larry Mcdonald. I live on Drake Drive. I've lived here for 46 years, and for 46 years I've been complaining about the high taxes. So I thought I'd take a shot at the school board and see for myself how the taxes are levied and why, and see if improvements couldn't be made now. I'm a retired electrician. I owned a small airport for 10 years. I drove ambulances for 6 years. And I'm a veteran of the Air Force. That pretty much tells you who I am. Oh yes, I was one of the charter members of the Irondequoit Partnership. You may remember that. And for 20 years, I've been president of the Brookview Area Neighborhood Association. So while I don't have the credentials that Ann Cunningham has, I'm still willing to get in there and learn what has to be learned and do what has to be done. That's all I have.
Thank you. And Mr. John Bay, your opening statement, please.
Good evening. First, I would like to thank the PTSA for hosting this event and all the other events that help make West Irondequoit community so special. I'm so proud to be part of this amazing community. I have lived in West Irondequoit most of my life. I grew up on Thornton Road, went to Listwood, Dake, and graduated from IHS in 1986. My wife, Colleen, has been a teacher at Rogers for 23 years. All 3 of our children went to Brookview, Rogers, Dake, and IHS. My son, TJ, graduated from St. John Fisher. My daughter, Maggie, will be starting her freshman year at Nazareth in the fall, and our youngest daughter, Becca, is a 2020 senior. We are a family invested in this community. During my past years on the school board, I've been a building liaison to many buildings in the district. I'm currently working with Ms. Flood at Rogers School. I'm proud of the work we've done to implement full-day kindergarten, to continue the important work around RTI, the Response to Intervention program. I have seen firsthand the amount of work done by our staff to prepare our students for the many transitions that they will encounter. I have seen every day the rigor and differentiation that our students are given to help them become career and college ready. I have been a proud chaperone and volunteer to many field trips and extracurricular groups in our district. I have chaperoned many trips to Helmer Nature Center, the Erie Canal, the downtown walking tours. I've cooked for students at Outdoor Ed, and I've cooked for the pancake breakfast at Helmer's Nature Center over the past years. I've been on numerous sports boosters clubs, including volleyball and lacrosse, both boys and girls, and I also volunteer for the celebration of our students, safe celebration for our students. I was proud to be part of the revision of our district's mission statement, the collaborative work done by this with staff, Board of Education members, and most importantly, community members. This is an example of how, this is an example of the board utilizing a transparent system to make decisions. I value the teamwork and believe it makes our community stronger. I believe it's important to have community members reach out and talk with board members. We need and value your voice. And the spirit and appreciation, that spirit and appreciation will continue as, if I'm reelected to the board. As a current member and president of the Board of Education, I believe I have the skills to help us move through these difficult times. There is still much unknown about our future. I will continue to work tirelessly to provide well-rounded, rigorous education for our students that they deserve. I will continue to fight for funding that help us provide programs that we need. I will continue to be a voice that raises questions to bring attention to what is best for our community. I have put numerous hours towards that goal of educating students in the best way possible here in West Irondequoit. I believe my experience highlights this dedication and commitment to the district and community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to the prepared questions. And I am going to make a leap that they're the same from previous years. So the first question, what do you see as the major challenges facing public education in general? How do these challenges relate to West Irondequoit? And we go back to Anne for the beginning of that first question. There you go.
Thanks. This is not a question that can be answered in 2 minutes, as there are many challenges facing public education as a whole and in turn West Irondequoit. I'll first answer the question by saying public education is incredibly undervalued and underfunded. The value of a rich and rigorous public education is often called into question, leading to funding that is either reduced, frozen, or diverted towards educational opportunities other than public ones. With budget reductions, increased unfunded mandates, increased accountability, and reductions in government-funded services, as a district, we are asked to fill the void, which puts a greater burden on the taxpayer. And in a town like Irondequoit, which is primarily residential, we all share in that burden. All of this was a huge factor before the onset of COVID-19 and the shutdown of our in-person learning. So a more specific challenge is that of the health, safety, and security of our West Irondequoit district staff and students. Now more than ever, we need to ensure they are safe emotionally and physically. We need to continue our planning for a safe return to in-person learning this fall. And in those plans, we need to make sure we take into account any resurgence of the virus. With the increased needs of our communities across the state and a country due to the impact of the virus, available funds have and will continue to shrink. We need to trust in the experience of our West Irondequoit district staff and administrators. They are the experts. They know best what it takes to educate our students. We need to trust in our students and guide and encourage them to step up to new challenges. Our public schools offer a powerful vehicle for rigorous learning opportunities, empowerment, health, well-being, and safety that cannot be downplayed or diminished. Our children are too important and the challenge is real. Now is the time for us to come together for the benefit of all students with experienced leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Larry, same question, please.
Same question. Well, you stated the obvious. It is a very multifaceted problem. Of course, I haven't been involved with it. However, I do have investigative skills, and I really have a problem with the high taxes for this community. And at the same time, I know that they're getting pretty good marks in school, but we're number 30. We're behind 30 other nations in education. And I'd certainly like to find out why we're spending so much money and yet we're so far behind. Just doesn't make sense to me. That's what I'd be looking for.
Thank you. And then John, sorry, same question.
So my dovetail with Ms. Cunningham's, the major challenges facing us, one would be state funding. This challenge facing us today is unprecedented. We need to make decisions based on what we value. I have spent the last 13 years focusing on what our community values in West Irondequoit. This experience will help guide my decision-making going forward. I'm familiar with how state funding works. I know that we will need experienced voices to take us through the next few years. The consequences of this pandemic will be with us for years to come. We need seasoned voices to bring the right balance of essentials and financial responsibility to the board. Yes, we need to make tough decisions. However, those decisions need to be made by people who value our district and the staff and students who work here. The second one is the social and emotional supports for our students and staff. We need to create a loving, caring, and safe environment for them. As Monroe County has cut support to these important programs to community members, we as a district have had to fill the void and supply programming to support students and families, all with little increase in funding. I will continue to fight for more funding for the social and emotional well-being of our students and staff. Thank you.
Sherry, you're on mute.
Thank you. As
That's
a
so
member
hard.
of the Board of Education, let me repeat myself. As a member of the Board of Education, what will be your top 2 priorities? And Larry, you get to take that question first.
Well, as I stated, I want to find out why it costs so much and why we're so far behind with other nations. The students seem to be doing pretty well from what I can gather, but yet we're behind. And it's costing us a fortune to get to where we are. Something just is out of balance here. I'd like to find out what it is.
Thank you. And now, John, you get that question.
Okay. My 2 top priorities. I will continue to provide support to the teachers and staff to educate our students at all levels. I have seen firsthand how important it is for students to be college and career ready. This is my top priority. It is important to provide supports to students at all levels. Not only do they need to be supported academically, but they also in the social and emotional areas also. These are important supports that we as a board will continue to support. We need to support our staff in meaningful professional development in these areas. When our staff can meet students on their level, build a trusting relationship, our students will take risks, ask questions, and push to learn more. It will be also important to build responsible budgets. With the support from our community, we work hard to find the balance with the needs of our students and the support of our taxpayers. The board welcomes people to board meetings and makes them available online. We want people to come to meetings or ask questions about something they viewed online. We want to work in partnership with our community members and be transparent in our decision-making when we make decisions. I stand by all the decisions that have been made as part of this Board of Education, and I believe they were for the betterment of the students and community of West Irondequoit. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And Ann, you get the last word on that question.
Great, thank you. My top 2 priorities have been and will always be supporting our students and remaining fiscally responsible with our taxpayers' dollars. As a board member, my number 1 priority is to assure that all children are given the optimal opportunity to succeed. Our students deserve access to high quality educational opportunities in order to become curious and creative thinkers and problem solvers. All of our graduates should be college, career, and community ready. Our top priority should always be to attract and retain excellent staff, to develop challenging and rigorous curricula, to update our classroom and building use for technology, for educational and safety purposes, and to ensure our students' emotional and social needs are met. My second priority is to ensure our students and staff have what they need to be while being fiscally responsible. We are fortunate to have administrators that are strong in fiscal management. Our district has made solid decisions through conservative budgeting and prudent use of our reserves to ensure our district is financially sound. For several years now, we have advocated for the unfreezing of foundation aid. The West Irondequoit Central School District has lost over $60 million since 2007-2008, with approximately $5 million just this year. And now with the state deficit due to the impact of COVID-19 being passed on to school districts, the advocacy efforts I have been involved in need to continue. Every single student deserves a quality and rigorous education and access to the resources needed to help them succeed. It is my role as a board member to ensure this happens. It's a role I've taken very seriously and one I hope to continue for another 3-year term. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. So the next question, John, you get first. What is the best way to address differences of opinion on the board?
So differences of opinion. Being the president of the Board of Education, I believe it is important to listen carefully and speak thoughtfully. I value the idea of fellow board members. I welcome a different perspective when we are discussing issues or trying to solve problems. Our strength comes from the collective knowledge we bring to the table. I'm a team leader at the U of R. I know how important it is to listen carefully. I want to hear from people what they are thinking, how they are feeling about an issue, or what they think the best path forward is. I may not always agree with someone, but I will always respect their opinions and value their commitment to the shared responsibility. We work together for our community, and I'm so grateful for the time and effort that this board has put in. I learn from them at every meeting we have. We have educational and business experts on the current board. I know our students have benefited from their knowledge and expertise. We need creative, independent thinkers to help us manage through this current situation and keep alive the vision of a vibrant learning community in West Irondequoit. We will have disagreements, yes we will. We will discuss and come to an agreement and move forward, and yes we will do that also. I'm proud of my participation on this board. I believe healthy discussion will bring about solid solutions that our students, staff, and community can all support together. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ann?
Thanks. One of the biggest strengths of our current board is that our members don't always agree. While each of us around the table is a steadfast supporter of our community and students, we also come from different life experiences. Respecting and celebrating our differences is what makes us stronger as a board, and finding common ground in those differences is what results in better decisions for our community. It's an eye-opening experience when you first come on the board to be part of some very tough conversations that potentially impact people's lives. Each of us hears from community members who ask us to be their voice for change. It's a difficult balancing act. Sometimes we go home frustrated and maybe even harboring some hard feelings. But we realize it's a healthy thing, and these conversations need to happen if we are to make progress on issues before us. When we have the ability to discuss our differing opinions, we learn to listen harder. We become more respectful of others and as individuals, and we find common ground. That's when our decisions are the best. Decisions made by this Board of Education may never be perfect in everyone's eyes, but our process needs to be done with dignity, respect for our peers and our neighbors, and with a great degree of thoughtfulness. Most importantly, we need to always act as role models for and focus on the needs and interests of our students, staff, and community. I've been proud to be part of this healthy debate for nearly 9 years now. I'm confident my experience and lessons learned during my tenure have made me more humble as a person, more respectful of others, more confident as a leader, and better able to make decisions that are in the best interest to them all, because interests have been considered in reaching them. I look forward to continuing the healthy debate on your behalf and ask for your support to continue being your voice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ann. And Larry, you get the last word on this question.
Well, I see a lot of disagreements in this, and I understand that. I've been in plenty of groups and organizations where there are disagreements, which lead to angst, which leads to hatred, and it's sad to see that. However, I'm quite well acquainted with total quality management, and that's a system where you get rid of the, for those of you who might not know it, it's a system where you can get rid of that and deal in facts only and assign assignments to find out what the facts are if you don't know what they are. And this is an approach I would like to see done. It isn't necessarily, doesn't have to be, but it's a wonderful problem-solving tool. I know how to do that.
Okay, thank you. And the last prepared question, and we go back up to the top to Ann. Do you support the district's proposed school budget? Explain why if yes, and if not, what changes you would make.
I express my most heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Brennan, Dr. Hunter, our leadership staff, and our building principals, all under the leadership of Dr. Johnson, for their guidance and vision as they work together to lead our board through a challenging process to develop the budget for the 2020-21 school year. Developing a budget is a balancing act. As a board, we are tasked to create a budget that meets the needs of our children while being faithful stewards of our community's tax dollars with an awareness of the uncertainties of a challenging economy and state budget. We have done that with this school budget. The increase in state aid that we expected to receive decreased dramatically with the onset of COVID-19 and the resulting financial crisis. Our foundation aid was ultimately frozen at last year's level. Overall state aid was increased only slightly, and we were ultimately left with just over an $870,000 budget gap. The gap was reduced through careful reductions at the department and building levels, a hiring freeze, and absorbing several open staff positions, all in an effort to maintain the rigor of classroom instruction. This budget still continues to support our staff as they work to provide rich experiences for our children. It supports our students' academic, social, emotional, and extracurricular needs. The budget also includes a capital exclusion project to replace Seneca Elementary School's aging roof. This budget meets the tax levy cap of 1.83% with an increase of 50 cents per 1,000 in assessed value. We have also been able to keep our 10-year tax levy increase at an average of 1.95%. I wholeheartedly support the budget for the 2020-21 school year. I hope you will join me by voting yes on this budget, and please return your ballot to district office by 5 p.m. on June 9th. Thanks.
Thank you. And Larry, same question?
What was the question? What would I do to change?
I can repeat the whole question for you. Do you support the district's proposed school budget? Explain why if you do, and if you do not, what changes would you make?
Okay. If I don't have a choice, I will support it, but I do not support it as it stands because, like, as I said, it's costing us too much. I want more for the buck. I don't know how to do that yet, but that's why I'm running for school board.
Thank you.
Yep.
And John, final word.
Thank you, Sherry. Yes, I support this current proposed budget. It is a budget that stays under the state cap of 1.83%. Over the last 10 years, we have kept the average tax increase to less than 1.95%. We continue to have one of the lowest per pupil expenditures in the county. As many of you know, there are still many unknowns. We have not been told by the governor about our state aid funding for next year. This could impact our district severely. We need to be ready to tackle the challenges. Experience will help us keep us on track. We need the people who will protect the education of our students in West Irondequoit. Tough decisions need to be made. We need people who are trusted and invested in keeping this community strong. Again, I would like to encourage people to vote yes on the budget with me. And I would like to remind you, like Ms. Cunningham did, that ballots are due back in district office by 5 p.m. on June 9th. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we get on to the questions that the community forwarded in. I want to thank the community for sending in those questions. I have combined similar questions or reworded parts of questions, but the questions themselves were excellent. And so I thank the community for their work on that. Since we're already talking about budget, the first question I'm going to ask, and Larry, you get this one first. As we await potential further reductions in our New York State aid this year, how will you approach the decisions about needed cuts in spending to offset the decreased revenues? Where specifically would you prioritize those cuts?
I would have to look at auxiliary staff, maintenance staff, things like that. Right now they're not working, and they may be surplus people. I know it's a mortal sin to fire somebody, but at the same time, you're working with a budget that's not working very well. Next, I think I'd have a long talk with our senator and our assemblyman about this. And I suspect I would have to try to find somebody else to govern the state, because aid to schools has seemed to be a political football, at least in my opinion. And that shouldn't be. That's about all I have to say on that.
Thank you. John, you get that question next. Do you need me to repeat it?
Reduction in state aid, and what cuts would I make to?
Where would you prioritize those?
Okay. So reductions in state aid, again, like I said before, without, it was very tough to craft this budget this year without knowing our state aid funding that the governor has would first promise us on April 15th, and then May 1st, and then May 15th, again, to craft a budget for a school district without knowing a major portion of that tends to be tough. He's held us hostage for that. So hopefully no cuts come. If they do come, I know this board would sit down with our administrative staff led by Dr. Johnson and the brilliant mind of Mr. Brennan in our business office. And we would look at where we were and where we have to be. And then I believe we've already, the board has a budget document that guides our budget decision-making process. And if cuts had to be made, we would take that out. That's our guide, and we would start to go down that list. As a board, we've always looked at our cuts. How do we keep them as far away from the student learning environment as possible and still support our staff and our community residents? So with that, those would be the things I would look at. I do have to agree with Mr. McDonald. I would continue to lobby our state senators and our state legislators and our federal legislators to fully fund the public education that is every right of a student in this nation, and that they have a free and appropriate education in the state. And I would make sure that they know that that is their responsibility to make sure that that continues to happen. So thank you.
Thank you. And Ann, last word on this question.
Thanks. I'm not sure that I could add much more to what John just expressed. We, as a board and as a district, always have plans. We're always looking ahead. We're always looking at what could happen. We know that some further cuts could come. And Mr. Brennan, who has been a phenomenal fiscal manager for us, financial manager for us, already has planned out some contingencies, and we've already as a board talked about those plans, and they are always about keeping the cuts farthest from the classroom as possible. So as a board, we sit down, we wrestle with those decisions. We look at the building level where we can make cuts. There are some mandated things that are mandated that we just can't cut. So if we can look at some efficiencies as much as possible, that is what we will do, always in support of our students, so that their classroom has the integrity and the rigor that they deserve. And again, as Mr. McDonald and Mr. Vay said, we're always trying to advocate as much as we can, talking with our county legislators, our state legislators, and our federal legislators, and we have good relationships already with them, and we already have been doing that advocating. So it's a multi-tiered approach, but always making sure that the rigor of the classroom, the rigor of instruction is top-notch, as West Irondequoit is already known.
Thank you. Next community question, and John, you get this one first. As distance learning appears to be the reality for at least the near future, what steps will you take to ensure equitable access to education for all students?
So distance learning. So as you know, this was, I wouldn't say thrust on us due to COVID-19. I would say that it was accelerated. The district has planned over years. We've had careful budget planning to increase our technology infrastructure. And recently, over the last 3 years, we've gone to a one-to-one initiative at our schools. So through 4 through 12, all had access to a laptop. Our fantastic staff made provisions to help the K-3 level. We got laptops to third graders. So with that, but also part of that, we partnered with the town, who helped with Verizon to have mobile hotspots. So families that weren't able to support distance learning with a high-speed internet connection, we made sure that we could help support that. And that was with partnership with the town and Verizon, and we thank them for that. So that's one step for access. Again, always advocating that we make sure that we're leveling the playing field for all students involved. And I will continue to fight and fund for those accesses for people who need them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne, same question?
I would again like to echo what John just said. You know, I think about our building staff, our building principals. They know our students. They know our students the best. They know those students who may need some extra services, some extra support. And I certainly would look to those leaders and those staff members to make sure that they are reaching out as much as they can to families to find out what they need to be able to access learning opportunities. This has been a challenging time for all of us, our families, our students, parents, staff. And so we need to, as a board and as a district, continually look at how we can continue this type of learning. I don't think that this type of learning is going to go away anytime soon. We may still need to have maybe even a hybrid model. We don't know what that's going to look like in the fall. But we had, as John had stated, we already had that rollout of our one-to-one computers and partnering with the state or the town and the county as well. We've talked, the town has helped us with, and the libraries helped us with hotspots for those students that needed just basic internet access. So, you know, making sure that we've got that infrastructure and are able to reach out to our students and provide what they need as best as possible. So it's just a continual learning curve for all of us. And I applaud our staff for doing as much as they had in a quick and fast amount of time.
Thank you. And Larry, same question.
Well, as I understand it, all the students have computers and all the teachers are professionals. So let them get on with it and get it done. And In the meantime, I'll grind my teeth and wait for this thing to be over. And get the kids back to school. I don't think they're going to improve on that, except by curing COVID-19.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us back to the top of the order. I had a trigger finger going there. The next question, Anne, you get first. And it's sort of related to the question you just answered, but because it was a little different, I put it in here. What does student voice mean to you? And how has it been impacted by the distant learning environment?
A student voice is about listening. Student voice is about empowering. Student voice is about us making sure that our students have access, that they have a say in our what happens in their educational future. Our Board of Education is always looking to our students, and we want to hear from our students. In fact, we have 2 high school students every year who act as liaisons. They meet with our buildings and act as that go-between the board and the student body. So we are always listening. I can imagine that there have been a lot of frustrations. I know that my own daughter has had some frustrations with this distance learning. So we need to make sure that we are creating safe environments where our students can voice their opinions, voice their frustrations, voice their celebrations and their joys, first with their classroom teachers and with their principals and with our administrators and with Dr. Johnson and our board as well. So we need as a board especially to be open, to constantly be listening and know that their needs come first. And that's why I serve to make sure that they're heard. It's incredibly important now more than ever.
Thank you. Larry?
Well, I think I'd like to say everything that Ann Cunningham just said. Yes, it is important that they have a voice. It's just as important to teach them logic and reason. And then you can get something out of them besides, I don't want to go to school today.
Okay, thank you. And John, final word on this question.
Can you just repeat the question more time, Sherry?
Sure. What does student voice mean to you, and how has it been impacted by the distance learning environment?
So, student voice. I've always taken student voice as a very important part of board service and really community service. They are our future, right? So we need to listen to them. They have come to the board. Like Ann says, we have student reps that fill us in on the culture and climate of our schools. I continue to pulse out to talk to students. I can tell you the difference is with this distance learning / COVID-19 issue is I do miss those in-person opportunities that we have to talk and listen and discuss problems, fears, frustrations of our students, and to let them know that it's okay to talk about it and work. While we might not be able to, in this I want it now society, maybe not be able to fix it right that minute, but we care about it. We value their opinion, and we will work with them to come to a decision that hopefully can satisfy all.
Okay, thank you. And Larry, you get the 6th question here. Well, it's not the 6th, it's not yours. What do you see as the biggest social and emotional challenge facing our students today? And whoever wrote it said pre-COVID-19, but even more so now. So the biggest social and emotional challenges facing students today?
Probably the future. They may not know it, but they've got a rough road to hoe. And it's up to the teachers to make straight their path. I don't know how they're going to do it. I'll try to find out and pass the word on.
John, you get that question next.
So it's like a three-legged stool in the learning environment. We have the education, the social and emotional, and well-being of the students. So this is an important aspect to make sure that we are listening to our students, we are listening to our staff, who our school administrators, our Monroe County School Boards Association that provide excellent programming to board members so they can learn about different programs that are out there that we might not have in our district. That, you know, we have guest speakers that come to speak at, you know, what they might be doing in another district. I find those to be helpful. And those are some of, I believe that social, as I said before, social and emotional learning is an important part of the school environment. I worry that with the distance learning model, they're not involved in those day-to-day interactions with their peers and with their teachers and the adults in the building. So hopefully we work through that to continue that strong bond, to have them become productive and successful society members in the future.
Thank you. Anne?
Thank you for the responses from both Mr. McDonald and Mr. Vey. Mr. Vey, I absolutely 100% with you on that. I think one of the biggest stressors was certainly that impacts our students is social media. While there are benefits to social media, I think the fact that our students, it is an interface that if they can't, they're not always meeting face to face. But I think now in this this time post COVID, there have been some benefits to social media, that it has connected our students in new and different ways. Social emotional learning has been an initiative of our district to be for several years now, and especially this past year, reaching out, making sure that our students are feeling very safe and connected. And it's those connections that face-to-face connections that with distance learning we don't necessarily have. As we were answering the last question and Mr. Vey was answering the question, I was thinking just about our teachers not being able to give our kids hugs or give a high five as they come into the classroom in the morning. That has been a way for our teachers to judge judge our how our students are approaching the day. It's their first interaction with the student, and what kind of day, how is this going to set our students up for the rest of the day? So being able to check in first thing in the morning is not there. So we're going to have to look at new and creative ways to be able to do that, to make sure that our students are supported emotionally.
Thank you. So the next question goes to John first, and it says, which student programs do you see as the true differentiators in our West Irondequoit district, and why?
Student programs
That you
differentiate West Irondequoit?
Yes.
So there's quite a few. I mean, we have a rigorous AP offering, which I'll attest to. My daughter tested that program fairly well. She was accepted into Nazareth with 33 credits credited to her degree going forward. So she basically went in as a sophomore. So that is a huge program that we have here in West Irondequoit. But it's all the programs. Our music program, recognized again as one of the best music programs in the country. This past year, again, I think, what is it, 18 out of 19 or 19 out of 20 years, we've received that designation. Our theater program is very good. Our sports program, we offer a litany of varsity level sports all the way down to our modified level. So those are some of the programs that help us distinguish West Irondequoit. Another one would be with former superintendent's leadership, Jeff Grain. We led, West Irondequoit was one of the districts that really got off the ground the race relations discussion that's happened across the county. And I believe that that has helped us. I know some of our students have gone on to speak at the state level and even nationally and been recognized for that. So again, that's another program of inclusiveness that makes West Irondequoit such a great community to live and raise a family in.
Thank you. And Ann, next.
I want to piggyback on everything that John said and maybe highlight a few other programs because I absolutely agree with John. We have, in our high school, we have a program called Pathways to Teaching that helps our students explore what a teaching position might be like. And I know that John's daughter took part in that. And I know for a fact that that was beneficial because she wants to be a teacher. We have an incredible business department and with our DECA program, and this program helps teach our kids not only about financial literacy, but what it's like to be in the business world. And we've, as board members, have been able to go to the local conferences to be able to see our students compete, and our students do amazingly well. It's been an incredible program. We also have a seal of biliteracy that we've been had going the last few years, where our students can come out with dual credits in two languages. So that's been really amazing. And for over 30 years now, our district has been involved in the urban-suburban program, and we were the first district to lead that way, and we are very proud supporters to continue on with that program as well. So to add to what John said, these are just a few other programs that I think are highlights of West Irondequoit education.
Okay, thank you. And Larry, last word on this question.
Would you repeat the question, please?
I sure will. It says, which student programs do you see as the true differentiators in our West Irondequoit district, and why?
English, math, history.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, we're back to the top and rolling on. The next question is a couple parts, so I can repeat this whenever you need me to, but Ann, you get this first. The Board of Education is currently in the process of developing a 5-year strategic plan. What do you think should be the key points of focus in that plan? And what would the learnings of COVID-19 impact this? Or, so I think they're saying, how would the learnings of the current COVID-19 situation impact?
We as a district always are looking forward and with a strategic plan financially and also structurally to take a look at our buildings to make sure that they are safe and sound. But number one, I think that student safety, health and well-being is first and foremost in my mind. Not only, we've talked a lot about social and emotional learning, how that plays out in the classroom, making sure that our students are safe, in a safe environment, emotionally and socially, to help them learn better. But also to make sure that our staff and our students are safe in their building. And we have use funds to update our building safety, new doors, access to the buildings. We have a Raptor system now for that tracks people that come into our building. But certainly we are going to need to look at making sure that distance learning, if this is something that's going to continue, that all of our students have access. So making sure that every student has a laptop down to the kindergarten level will certainly be a part of that plan as well. So certainly a top in my mind is safety, overall safety and well-being.
Thank you. Larry?
I'm not familiar with the program, so I guess I won't answer that.
Okay, and John?
So, Cherry, can you just read the question again? I want to make sure I got it right.
Sure. The Board of Education is currently in the process of developing a 5-year strategic plan.
Yeah.
What do you think should be the key focus points in that plan? And how would the learnings from the current COVID-19 situation impact that?
So this is a continuation of the work that was started 2 years ago by the board, where we redid our mission statement. And how did we do that? We started with input from our community, from our staff, from our students even. The board surveyed, had focus groups, and brought them in. The strategic plan is really the same thing. So the mission is the overall arching statement. The 5-year strategic plan is really your guidance plan for your how to run your district, and it really anchors your district, and it helps the Board of Education, our administration, our staff really ground all their decisions and how it ties back to your 5-year vision or strategic plan. So with that, key points would be: we make sure we have community input, we make sure that we're thoughtful in the process, listen to all the ideas that are out there. Okay, with COVID-19, how does some of that change? We have to look at what does distance learning look like in a 5-year plan? How do we engage our community? We at times, the board over the years has always had a goal of more community engagement. I'm worried that at this state and time of COVID-19, that again is going to be difficult. But we as a board, and I know I would if I was on the board, still advocate for all avenues to receive that feedback. Whether that meant I had to put a mask on and go meet with someone, I would do that if it was a community resident, because it's important to have that foundation to help you build that strategic plan, because that will be your vision and guiding principles for 5 years out. Thank you.
Thank you. So you've spent the last hour answering. You've answered 10 questions. And so I'm going to move you to your 2-minute final statements, and we go back to Ann for that.
Thank you. We have much to be proud of in the West Irondequoit School District. Our children not only learn here, they excel and they exceed in life. Despite the many challenges facing public education in our district today, it's vital that we keep our focus on what's most important, our children. If I am given the privilege of serving another term on this board, I pledge to remain an active advocate for all our children, a sounding board for parents, staff, and residents, and a fiscally responsible advocate for the best interest of residents in the West Irondequoit Central School District. I will continue to learn, to work collaboratively with our board members, staff, and community to build creative solutions that move our already excellent educational system to an even higher level, as I have these past 9 years. I am exceptionally proud to be endorsed by all 3 unions that represent the staff that work every day with our students. Their support and trust means more than you can imagine. Now more than ever, experience matters. We need experienced board members who can help support our students and staff as they transition carefully and safely back to in-person learning. I believe in public education. I believe in our community. I believe in our staff. And above all, I believe in our students and their future. I am up to the challenge and ready to put my experience back to work for West Irondequoit. I hope that you will give me the honor and privilege of continuing in this important role. Please remember to return your ballots to district office by June 9th at 5 p.m. If you need more ballots, please contact district office at 336-3199. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry, your closing.
Well, I would like some changes made somewhere at the state level or the school level, or now I understand the county's involved too, with a 5-year strategic plan. Everything seems to be money. And again, that's why I wanted to join the school board, to see where the money's going. And that's what I'll do. I'll report back to anybody about what the school board is doing and what the school is doing. And hopefully I could make a difference. That's all.
Thank you. And then John.
So first of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Johnson for your moderation tonight. PTSA, again, thank you for having the time for candidates to meet the community, and special thanks go out to our community information director, Mr. DeVeronica, for putting together this program tonight. So thank you everybody who's watching at home tonight. This is a difficult time for us all. I watch my wife teach and plan with her colleagues online. I watch my daughters taking class online. This is not easy for anyone. It breaks my heart for the students, to see the students missing their teachers and their friends. We will get through this time. I see people supporting one another in ways I've never seen before. We are reaching out and helping out because we are West Irondequoit. I'm proud of the hard work our staff is doing to keep our students connected. I'm proud of our students and their efforts to stay engaged in working. I'm proud of our community and how they've stepped up to help one another. Times are tough, but so are we. We will get through this together because that's the only way we have to do it. Stay healthy, and thank you again for your support. And again, I would remind people, please contact district office if you need another ballot. Return your ballots by June 9th to district office. And again, we ask for your support, and I ask for your support. And thank you, Irondequoit, for all you do for our students too. So thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight and for taking on the community's questions, for offering your services as a Board of Education member. This elected service, again, unpaid and nonpartisan, has a lot of responsibilities with it. And so the community is really blessed to have your willingness to do so. I have been asked to read on behalf of PTSA the requirements, since this is an extraordinary time, about how community members will be able to vote this year. And I know some of the candidates have reinforced that. But per the New York State Executive Order, the school district budget vote and Board of Education election will be conducted entirely by absentee ballot. So for the West Irondequoit School District, 2 ballots with 2 posted paid return envelopes, along with instructions, will be mailed to every West Irondequoit Central School District household. And as our candidates have said, additional ballots for qualified voters can be requested from the district clerk, Pat Kelly, at the district offices. It is now on the screen so that you can all see it as we walk through it. The qualified voter requirements are right there, and you must send your return ballots by mail using the prepaid envelopes. And as they have highlighted, and I would like to highlight as well, only 1 ballot can be included in each envelope. You cannot send multiple in one. All absentee ballots must be received at the district office by 5 p.m. on June 9th, 2020. So I will let the audience that is going to be watching this see that themselves. And at this point, I thank you for allowing me to moderate your candidate night tonight. And I'm going to turn this back over to your PTSA chair, Maureen Herron.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for moderating. Thank you to all the candidates for being willing to come and answer questions, let the voters know where you stand on the issues that we brought up. And thank you to everybody who's going to hopefully watch this. I would also like to give a huge thank you to Mr. DeVeronica and the district for helping get this set up and broadcasting it for us. And please, again, remember to vote and get your vote in by June 9th, 2020. Thank you to everyone. Good night.
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 Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Take care.